Both stared at the lifeless body of his son, Connor, lying cold on the hospital bed. His hands trembled as the doctor's voice echoed in his ears. Poison. His son had been poisoned. 3 days earlier, Connor had been his usual bubbly self, running around the house, laughing, and telling his father about his new toy car. Now, his boy was gone. Dead. It felt like a nightmare he couldn't wake from. The doctors tried their best, but nothing could explain how Connor fell ill so suddenly, how he complained of stomach pains after dinner, vomiting and gasping for air. Bode never suspected that his wife, F, had anything to do with it. How could he? She was the one who cried the loudest at the hospital, pleading for Connor to wake up. But there was something about her cries that didn't sit well with Bode. Something felt off. Weeks before Connor's death, Bode had begun to notice F acting strangely. She was more distant, always preoccupied with her phone and constantly on edge whenever her boss's name, Mr. Depot, came up in conversation. Bode didn't think much of it at first. Marriages had their rough patches, after all, but there was something unsettling about the way she reacted whenever Depot called late at night or asked her to stay late at work. Bode, trusting but curious, decided to do a DNA test on Connor without F's knowledge. It wasn't out of suspicion of infidelity, at least not at first. But the way F had started avoiding his touch, her sudden coldness, and her unexplained late nights began to gnaw at him. When the results came back, he was relieved. Connor was his. There was no doubt. Bode decided to keep the DNA test to himself, thinking it was best not to stir unnecessary tension in the home. He loved his wife, and whatever was troubling her, he believed they could work it out. But F had been hiding a secret. A terrible one. She had been having an affair with her boss, Depot, for months. It started innocently enough, late work meetings, long hours in the office, but soon, things crossed the line. And when F discovered she was pregnant with Connor, a seed of doubt planted itself in her mind. Could the child be Depot's? She didn't dare tell Bode. The thought of him leaving her, the shame, the guilt, it was too much to bear. In her mind, Connor was not Bode's son. She was convinced the child belonged to Depot, though she had no proof. She lived in constant fear that one day, Bode would find out and leave her. The weight of her secret was suffocating. One evening, after a particularly tense argument with Depot, where he threatened to reveal everything if she didn't end things with him, F made a desperate decision. She couldn't let Bode find out. If Connor wasn't Bode's child, then her entire life could unravel. The shame would be unbearable, and she would lose everything. So, she did the unthinkable. F slipped poison into Connor's food that night, thinking that if her child died, her secret would die with him. Bode would never have to know. She could continue to live her life, pretend that the affair never happened, and move on. But what F didn't know, what she could never have imagined, was that Connor was Bode's son. All along, she had been wrong. Her guilt and paranoia had led her to destroy the one thing she feared to lose. The police were already involved, investigating the cause of Connor's death. Bode, in his grief, refused to believe that his wife could have had anything to do with it, but when the truth came out, it shattered him. One night, after days of silence, F broke down in front of him. "I did it, Bode. I killed Connor," she sobbed, her words barely making sense. I thought he wasn't yours. I thought he was Depot's." Bode's heart froze. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "What are you saying?" F, trembling, explained everything. The affair. Her fear that Connor wasn't Bode's child. The poison. Bode staggered back, his mind spinning. "Connor was mine. He was our son," he whispered, the weight of her confession crushing him. F stared at him, wide-eyed. "What?" "I did a DNA test, F. Connor was my son. Her scream pierced the night. F collapsed to the floor, clutching her chest as if the weight of Bode's words had physically knocked the air from her lungs. Her mind raced, unable to comprehend what she had just heard. Connor was Bode's son. The truth hit her like a wave, drowning her in regret. The room spun, and she felt sick to her stomach. She had killed her own child, Bode's child, based on a lie she had convinced herself was real. I didn't know, she gasped, her voice cracking as she looked up at Bode, pleading. I thought it was the only way. Bode stared at her, his face blank, hollow. His eyes, once filled with love for the woman he had chosen to spend his life with, were now empty. He had no words for her. How could he? What could anyone say in the face of such betrayal, such senseless tragedy? He wanted to scream, to cry, to tear something apart, but all he felt was numb. He had lost his son. And now, he realized he had lost his wife long before that. F crawled toward him on her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. Bode, please. I didn't mean for this to happen. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. He stepped back, his face contorted with disgust, his eyes never leaving her. You were scared. Scared of what, F? That I would leave you? That I would find out you were unfaithful? So you poisoned our son? Her sobs grew louder, but Bode couldn't bear to hear them anymore. The sound twisted inside him, mixing with his grief and rage until it felt like his chest was going to explode. He turned his back to her, staring out the window into the darkness. All those months, she had been living with this secret. The nights she came home late, the fake smiles, the forced laughter, it had all been a lie. He had been blind, so trusting, so sure that whatever issues they were facing could be fixed. But this was beyond anything he could have ever imagined. I was going to forgive you, F, Bode whispered, his voice breaking as tears finally filled his eyes. I knew something was wrong, but I was going to forgive you. Because I loved you. I loved Connor. We could have gotten through this. But now he's gone. F's cries turned to soft whimpers, her body trembling on the floor as the weight of what she had done crashed over her. She had killed the only innocent person in the whole mess, her son, the child she had brought into the world, all because of a lie, a fear she hadn't even confirmed. I'm sorry, she kept repeating, as if those words could undo the pain, as if they could bring Connor back. But there was no coming back from this. The police arrived that evening after Bode made the call. He watched silently as they led F away in handcuffs, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. She didn't resist. She didn't speak. She was broken, shattered by the weight of her own actions. As they drove off, Bode stood in the quiet of their empty home, the silence pressing in on him. The family he had once cherished, the life he had worked so hard to build, was gone. He walked slowly into Connor's room, where the boys' toys were still scattered on the floor, untouched since the day he fell ill. Bode picked up the small toy car Connor had loved so much, holding it tightly in his hand as tears streamed down his face. The guilt F felt had destroyed their family. The secret she had tried so hard to hide had taken the most precious thing in the world from them. And now, there was nothing left but the painful memories of what could have been. Connor's laughter would never fill the house again. Bode sank to the floor, clutching the toy to his chest, and for the first time since Connor's death, he allowed himself to weep.